not as haunted as you think it is.
Yeah, I remember just hearing about the gates of hell.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've heard about them my whole life, but
Mm-hmm.
there's two sites that have
For the
have
gates of
like
hell.
adopted that name.
I have the stories, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to get into it?
Yeah, it's all rumor and speculation.
Oh, of course. I mean, most haunted stories are though.
There's not even so most stories, in haunting, you can call them rumors and speculation, but most of them have a history to back it up.
True.
Like a reason why.
A history of like weird events.
Yes, and so the reason why, by the way, we're talking about Maudslay State Park.
Yeah, Maudslay State Park in Newburyport.
Yeah. It's a 450-acre park.
You could explore there all day long.
It was an awesome thing to explore, and I get why it has the creepy vibes, because it once had 2 mansions, a castle, many greenhouses, stable barn, gardens, and many other buildings on it.
The castle seemed pretty cool. It was built in like the 1800s, and it was Gothic style. So that would be kind of cool with like the stone wall bridges that are there and all of that stuff. It would have been cool if there was a castle, but yeah, it got torn down.
It says most of the buildings were demolished, destroyed, or fallen by the time the state purchased the land in 1985.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm not going into too much of the history.
All right, go for it. Just riffing.
In addition to the old structures, it also says there's Native American ceremonial mounds. None that we saw.
I really wanted to try to find those before we got there, but I couldn't find anything on the location. But I have an idea now, so maybe it'll be worth like a second trip to like go check those out. Because I don't know, I think those would be fun.
And after it was purchased in 1985, rumors and stories started to swirl that it was haunted.
Mm-hmm.
Probably before that. I mean, come on. You got a property like that and people haven't started rumors before that.
Yeah.
I think that's when they just became more public, when it became state land.
Yeah.
So the gates of hell, like we were talking about, there's 2 locations that are claimed to be the gates of hell. The one is the Iron Gate. It's original to the head of a driveway that led up to one of the family mansions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an iron gate with like spikies on it.
Yeah, like the old cast iron gates. Yeah. We should have got pictures of that one. I don't think we did.
I don't think so. Because we didn't go by it.
Nope.
Yeah. It was deemed gates of hell. There was a rumor that if you drive by them late at night, the decapitated heads of a murdered family could be seen on the spike. Truth is, no such murder ever happened on the property. And the story is fabricated. So that was what I was going into, is that like usually with haunted stories and stuff and weird vibes, there's a history that goes along with it.
Yeah, as to like why it's haunted.
It's haunted, like when we went to the cemetery that had the rumor of the old witch, who wasn't even a witch, but you know, but at least there was like a history in belief that this woman was.
Oh yeah, now most like witches aren't actually witches.
Yeah.
She wasn't even an accused witch.
No,
like that was just a rumor.
That rumor came after her death.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
Oh yeah, okay.
It came after her death because her husband
didn't upkeep her grave.
He moved away and was too far to upkeep the grave. So that's they started making excuses of why she was all alone, like buried.
Yeah.
Another landmark that's also been noted is the Gates of Hell. We did go in that one. I got instantly just bad vibes.
It is pretty spooky.
Not just because it's like, oh, Gates of Hell, because there's no history, again, it's just rumored. And the main thing that attracted its attention was because the metal doors used to be bolted shut.
Yeah.
Now, they're no longer bolted shut, so you can walk right in there. It used to be an old root cellar where the family would store their vegetables and stuff they grew in the garden to preserve them. But when I went in there, I kid you not, Jake, I got lightheaded and blurry vision. Could have been dark, well, I mean, it was dark, but it could have been because of that and stuff. But like, as soon as I stepped in, I'm like, I want out. No real, like, it could have been in my head and stuff just from the stories of it being Gates of Hell. But again, I hadn't done the research before where there's nothing.
And also, this this particular landmark is what we went to go see.
Mhm.
And I had been there probably about a decade before was the last time I went there. And
Mhm.
I must have had like a false memory because I remember it being off the beaten path in the middle of the woods and like
Mhm.
something that was like lesser known about. Turns out the place is in like the main part of the park, near like the main gardens,
Yeah.
right off the main trail. It's upkept. It was nowhere where I thought it was. So we ended up walking like 6 miles that day
Mhm.
because I kept thinking I knew where it was.
Because you're stubborn.
Yes.
Because your dad told you where he thought it was.
And it's
And he
exactly where
was
it was.
right.
But
And he even asked someone that goes there regularly, and they were right.
yes.
They're like, you're on the wrong side. Now, here's the biggest kicker of this all is that when your parents were departing, we were still going to continue to look for it. And what do? Send us in the same direction, convinced we're slightly off.
Yeah.
So another like 3 miles, and finally I'm like, dude, why don't we just go and check out if it's in that area your dad
We had
thinks
given
it
up.
is?
We had given up and we're like, let's just go check out the gardens and then call it a day. And then they were like right there near the gardens. And I was like, crap.
You had given up. I knew
Yeah.
your dad was right because you were in your stubborn mind.
Yep. Well, we got a cool walk out of it.
What were you?
Stubborn.
Wrong.
Yeah. Yes, I was wrong. I was very wrong. But yeah, it was fun
It was
though.
a nice day. Oh, it was
beautiful
absolutely beautiful. So like I wasn't complaining other than I had an injury from walking 6 miles in Crocs, the all-terrain shoe. I thought it was going to be a much shorter walk that day, so I'm like, Crocs are fine. And they were not fine. My foot hurt. Like, it still hurts. There's like a weird spot in my foot. This was a week ago. And there's still a weird spot in my foot that it's like, oh, I've been having to wear tennis shoes to support my feet.
I'm not going to lie. I also hurt my foot and just haven't been talking about it. And mine still hurts as well. I wasn't wearing Crocs though. I wore good
but
shoes.
you were wearing like big old boots that aren't great.
No, I was wearing my hiking shoes.
Oh, I thought you were wearing
My work boots. No.
But yeah, so this one was the root cellar. It's just got creepy vibes, and
Yeah.
that's when they're like, "Get the hell." The other eerie thing that people like to talk about is the pet cemetery.
Oh yeah, the pet
which
cemetery
is really cool. It's but it's just said that the family that lived there, they buried their Jack Russell Terriers there.
So I actually want to go into this a little bit, but
Okay.
so the guy who owned it, his name was Frederick Mosley. He was like him and his father were the ones who started it and owned all the mansions. So they had the wealth. He was a very like notable. He wasn't necessarily a politician, but he was a big like businessman in the Newburyport area. He was also a really big supporter of the humane societies. And there was another society. It was something along the lines of like the prevention of animal cruelty. They were huge animal lovers.
They were, yeah, I did read that.
So then when I read that, now that pet cemetery that they have in the middle of the park, it actually makes sense because they're beautiful little headstones for all of their dogs that they ever had.
They all have their names. Yeah, It says that they mostly had Jack Russell Terriers. Like the family really liked those.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
Also, it's rumored that some of their favorite horses were buried there too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's no like confirmation on it, but yeah, they took really good care of their animals.
Yep.
They loved their animals. And that's always good to hear because I love my animals, except Rosie. I'm just kidding. I love Rosie. Oh, the look in your face said it all. Maudslay State Park Association is trying to squash any rumors of its hauntings. Here's the funny part. They're not trying that hard because every year they hold a Maudslay Park is Haunted event where you can listen to fictional stories while walking the trails. Like fictional haunted stories while walking the trails.
I mean, it's an excellent place for that. Like all of the old buildings, the old like it's such an interesting place to hike because it's not like it's in nature, but it's really not. Like you're getting like those stone arch bridges I can't get over. They're so cool looking. And then like the old buildings with the moss on the roof and the gardens are just so cool to like explore.
Yeah,
It's an
and
awesome
it was
hike.
an easy 6 miles, honestly, because it's
Yeah.
mostly flat.
And we didn't even see everything. Like
Yeah,
we could explore there all day long.
it was great. Yeah,
Yep.
next time I'll bring tennis shoes.
Yeah, definitely.
Except I still stand behind that Crocs are an all-terrain shoe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
They absolutely are.
especially
That's why they have
especially my bright yellow ones.
well, that's why they have 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive.
I like calling it tactical mode.
Yeah, that's acceptable as well. Talking about the heel strap on the back. If it's up, it's 2-wheel drive. If it's down, it's 4-wheel drive.
But most of the haunted stories are just people's experiences, and it was cool because I read like a comment section of like people saying, "No, it's not haunted. Just take the time, enjoy the nature. Like it's not haunted." But then there's people who are like, "No, actually, I've seen ghosts and stuff." So, there was a girl who was looking at the pet cemetery, and she saw a ghostly figure of a little girl at her side. Just a story.
That's interesting.
Someone who grew up in the neighborhood and said that they are a psychic. I left names out on purpose. They said they've seen ghosts that haunted the gates to the old estate. I don't know that particular comment. They went into like crazy town stuff, so I kind of left a lot of it out. Someone else who grew up in the area said the first time he went was at night as a teenager, I'm guessing with friends, and they shined their headlights at the gate and their car stalled. After a couple minutes, they then heard like the sounds of big rig shifting through gears, very loud, like it was gonna hit their car, but there was nothing. And then the car started and it was over. And then he went back there years later with friends, and he claimed a pile of raked leaves seemed to be following them. Which is that's a weird thing I've ever heard. And he goes, like, we chalked it up to coincidence, like multiple piles and stuff. But then there was like they'd look ahead and it wouldn't be there. They'd look behind them, nothing there, and then all of a sudden it's there.
Ooh, that's a creepy one.
Yeah, and then
that's an oddly specific one too.
Yeah, and then they were leaving. They were gonna hop the fence to leave, and it's like the pile of leaves that had been following them like crashed into the side of the wall and like were no longer in a raked pile.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's very specific. So that's the story I liked. That same night, the driver on their way home slowed down and said it was because he saw a dog in the road, and the passenger and the driver saw the dog in the road, but the two people in the back seat didn't see the dog in the road. And they're like, no, it's coming right at us. And then like they said it was passing the car, and as it passed the car, the driver like floored it to get out of there. But like, yeah, ghost dog.
Ghost dog.
Ghost dog.
That's cool.
So yeah, I like hearing people's individual experiences because I've had experiences in places too. Oh, your sister has as well, but you haven't.
Nope.
You don't believe in ghosts?
But definitely want to go back and do another one there. I want to explore those Native American ceremonial sites more. Just because there's not much known about them, because before 1813, when they got where the Mosleys bought that land, it was said to have been inhabited by like a native tribe that had died out from smallpox. Ooh. So really a lot of what was going on there before the Mosleys arrived is vastly like unknown. And I just love that unknown stuff. Yeah. And those burial mounds are really, or ceremonial mounds, are really all that's left from like the pre-Mosley era. Yeah. So I would love to. So even after all this time, you don't even have like just a like sliver of. I would love to have an experience that I can't explain, but I'm yet to. So no, I don't. You're like I have to see it to believe it. Yeah, I am. Or have to have it. I mean, I'll have faith in some things, but most of the time, yeah, I'm a seer to believe. And you don't like discredit like when your sister or I say what we've seen either. You know, might try and make a logical. Like I said, if I see something that I can't explain, then yeah, I mean, then I'll be like, wow, that's maybe. Sometimes though, it's just energies, and you don't see energies. Like you've never had just a energy and a. I'm naturally an anxious person anyway. So it's
Maybe
hard to
you're just haunted.
it's hard to
Maybe you got
decipher
like
what's bad energy and what's just what's just my mind being my mind.
maybe it's just because like you're haunted.
Yeah, doubt it.
Maybe your body's haunted.
That's why I have scoliosis.
No.
Yeah,
That wouldn't
dude,
make
that's the only
sense.
explanation that I would have of scoliosis.
Scoliosis just happens, dude.
Because I think it's because you're haunted.
Oh yeah.
The haunted body.
What?
Yeah. But
Did you have any more of the history? Because we didn't really talk history.
not really. I mean, a lot of the history I read about was like the mansions and the family. Kind of uninteresting. And kind of just peppering the history into like the research you did, I thought was pretty good. So I'm cool. We're at a good length right now. We can call it.